Welcome to the show, everybody. We're talking week 7. Yes, week 7 already. DFS, all the optimal plays to help you guys with your DraftKings and Fanduel lineups. This is also going to help you guys with your starts and sits going into week 7. So I'm going to give you the optimal plays. It's going to help you make the right decisions if you're going to start and sit the right person. Also going to give you some value plays as well for daily fantasy to really help you guys get the advantage in your DFS and your daily fantasy lineups, DraftKings help, Fanduel help. Everything for DFS right here for week 7. Before we get into this show, guys, manscaped.com. Use promo code SHOWERLINE. Save yourself 20%. 20% on some amazing products, guys. The fit and finish is phenomenal on here. Stay groomed, stay fresh. Grab yourself a trimmer, underwear, ball wipes. Everything is there for you guys to keep your balls fresh. Keep them. They're going to thank you. Okay, guys? Manscaped.com, promo code SHOWERLINE. Let's get into week 7 DFS. All right, guys, welcome to the show. If you're new to the channel, if you're new to daily fantasy, whatever you're new to into fantasy, or if you just like NFL football, this is the channel to subscribe to. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and leave a thumbs up. Okay, guys? Let's talk about the optimal plays at each position going into week 7. Now, there is a couple teams on bye week, and, it's up to you guys. You got to cover your bye week if you are playing year long. If you're playing DFS, I mean, that's the fun of it. It doesn't really matter. You're just going to basically play the players available there. Now, bye week, Buffalo, Dallas, Jacksonville, Chargers, Minnesota, and Pittsburgh all on bye. And this is the thing, man. It's going to hurt me this week for my year long because I have Najee and James Robinson in all my lines, and they're both on bye week, and Saquon Barkley could be hurt again. So I'm kind of SOL this week, but I do have depth, and it's not the greatest depth, but at least I have some running backs to plug in. Hopefully you guys do as well. Okay, guys? All right, so let's talk about the optimal plays at each position. Let's start off with the quarterback position. Now, again, when I'm doing daily fantasy lineups, and if you guys are looking for DraftKings help, here's a DFS, daily fantasy sports tip. When I look at quarterback, I want to make sure I anchor my DFS lineup with that ace quarterback. And the cool thing about quarterbacks is that there is consistent numbers that show that they are consistent. With wide receivers, with running backs, sometimes there's a lot of volatility, even tight ends. A lot of volatility with, 1 week they do good, the next week they kind of crap the bed. So with quarterback, you're almost guaranteed those points to some degree when you get a reliable quarterback in your lineup. So let me give you some reliable quarterbacks that have good matchups. So not only are they reliable, they've been consistent throughout the weeks, but they've also got a good matchup. So first one's Aaron Rodgers, pretty much put up 24 points the past 3 weeks, and he's playing Washington. Theoretically, the best matchup versus position at quarterback. Ryan Tannehill's got a good matchup, but he's only put up 14 points the past couple weeks. Not that good, okay? Pat Mahomes, consistent, great matchup versus Tennessee. Problem is you're going to pay a lot. You're going to pay $8,400. Aaron Rodgers, slightly easier matchup, and you're paying $7,500. So you can kind of see the difference. It's about $900 DraftKings difference on the budget there. So if you want to save some money, Aaron Rodgers might be a more value play, okay, guys? Other guys, Matt Ryan, been pretty consistent the past 3 weeks, got a good matchup versus Miami. You may want to consider him, and great value, $5,700 for Matt Ryan. I'm plugging him into DFS. But again, you got that chance he might crap the bed. Not as consistent as a Rodgers and Mahomes, but far more value, but you get that good matchup and you get the safe numbers. Very exciting. Carson Wentz, more value at quarterback and has been relatively consistent, but not really upsidey. 17 points, if that's even a word, upsidey. 17 points, 27 points the week before, 18 points, or what do you have before that? 18 points the week before that. Not the highest number. 17 points last week. It doesn't really get me out of bed, but if you want that value, okay? Now, if you want a guy like Kyler Murray's got a mid-range matchup versus Houston, still relatively easy. 12th easiest versus position. He's been consistent, 26 points last week, 14 the week before, 23 week before that. So really solid, really consistent, okay? So those are kind of your safer quarterbacks you want to get, and you want to start, your Kyler, your Pat Mahomes, your Aaron Rodgers, okay? Now, guys that have it in tough, you might want to tune in Friday for the starts and sits episode. It's also going to help you with this, but I got a couple guys that are studs that have it in tough is Lamar Jackson versus Cincinnati secondary, 6th hardest matchup versus position, but he's been relatively consistent. A down week last week. Him and Justin Herbert both had a down week. 14 points last week, not that good. And Tom Brady, 19 points last week. does have the 9th hardest matchup versus position versus Chicago. So just be aware if you're thinking of Lamar Jackson and Tom Brady, they do have it in tough. Jalen Hurts has been super consistent, decent value at $6,900 on DraftKings, but 10th hardest matchup versus position. So that's your breakdown on quarterback. Again, who I like. I like Aaron Rodgers this week. I like Matt Ryan. Those are kind of the quarterbacks I like for DFS. Moving on to running back. There's way more volatility here, and that's something that you need to be aware of, guys, going into this week. But when you look at the best matchups, you got Daryl Henderson, who's been pretty consistent, getting that volume, $6,600, not bad, and he's got theoretically the easiest matchup versus position versus Detroit. Something to note. Alvin Kamara been pretty consistent, very easy matchup, but there's a big price difference between Kamara and Daryl Henderson. Daryl Henderson, obviously, good matchup. Alvin Kamara playing Seattle, good matchup. Kamara, $8,900. Henderson, $6,600. Give me Daryl Henderson at that value there. And Daryl's got a slightly easier matchup versus position versus Detroit compared to Kamara versus Seattle, okay? If you want Cornell Patterson, $6,300. He was been, pretty consistent, had a high ceiling game a couple weeks ago where he had himself, 2 or 3 touchdowns, okay? Receiving, I believe it was. Is that going to continue? No, but he has been pretty consistent. $6,300, you can't go wrong, okay? Chuba Hubbard, not bad, 14 points last week, $6,100 value. Not bad, but Chuba Hubbard is a guy you may want to plug in. He's got a good matchup. Aaron Jones, good matchup versus position against Washington. Who else has got a good matchup here? Now, Miles Sanders, great value, $5,100. Good matchup, but very, very hard to trust. Very inconsistent and not very high ceiling, okay? Joe Mixon versus Baltimore, 12th easiest versus position. And again, he had a big 26-point game, but before that, very safe, 11 and 14 points the weeks prior. Not too exciting, but again, relatively easy matchup, okay? So again, Friday, I'm going to go over pretty much all of the guys that are, the tough matchups and the easy matchups. Now, Jonathan Taylor's been red hot. He's got a mid-range matchup. I like him at $7,100. A solid tight end, a solid running back I could plug in and feel really confident about to get that 15, 20 points almost guaranteed. Again, $7,100, a lot better than what you're paying for Kamara at $8,900. Okay, something to be aware of. Okay, guys. Again, Josh Jacobs been very boring, very touchdown dependent. Does have an easy matchup, $6,200. I'm almost tempted to take Daryl Henderson at $6,600, a little more consistent, and Jonathan Taylor at $7,100, who's got a higher ceiling and has been doing really, really good. Okay, so Taylor's a guy I like. Daryl Henderson's a guy I like. Again, you got some value at Chuba at $6,100, and there is other guys, but they don't have that type of ceiling as some of the guys I just mentioned here. Now, Kenyon Drake, be careful with him. He is $4,900, great value. Had a big week last week. I don't see that continuing because the weeks prior, he absolutely crapped the bed, okay? If you want a super good value play and a safe 10 to 15-point floor, Michael Carter is a good option. 15 points last week, 10 the week before, and his volume continues to go up. So Michael Carter, another guy you may want to consider, okay? Now, wide receiver, and again, I'm going to go to defense and tight end as well. Wide receiver, this is where you want to roll the dice, get the value, get those upside players. Devontae Adams, a very expensive $8,900, but great matchup versus Washington. 13 points last week, but been consistent the weeks prior. Again, expensive. Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams both have great matchups this week, but very expensive on DraftKings. $8,600 Tyreek, $8,900 Devontae Adams. Be cautious if you're going to start these guys. You're going to be paying a lot of money, but again, you're going to get those safer numbers. You can get yourself a Deebo Samuel at $7,300, who's also been consistent at $7,300 if you want to consider him. Okay, guys? Other guys that have great matchups, Brandon Cooks, and great value, $6,000, but you're not going to get the high ceiling with Brandon Cooks, okay? He's 18 points last week, 5 the week before. Very, very volatile and not a high ceiling. Jalen Waddle coming off a huge week last week, 29 points. Is that going to continue? I'm willing to roll the dice to say that it could continue. 29 points. Tua comes in. They get that connection going. Waddle could be a primary target yet again, and he's got a good matchup versus Atlanta. He's a guy I might want to roll the dice on this week with a good matchup, okay? Devontae Parker as well. I wouldn't trust him, but he does have a good matchup. He's done nothing the past couple weeks. Another value play at $4,600 is Darnell Mooney. You might want to consider him. He's been pretty solid, 16 points, last week. Not bad. The week before, not so good. The week before that, good at 22 points. Darnell Mooney, kind of all over the place, from a 22-point game to a 7-point game to a 16-point game. Kind of all over the place, but definitely good value, $4,600 if you want to get that solid tight end to plug in and get yourself some extra points, okay? So Darnell Mooney is an option. Now, Terry McLaurin, been very, very volatile, has crapped the bed the past couple of weeks. He does have a tough matchup, and he's going for $6,900, but a guy that could get the volume, but just be cautious. Tough matchup for him. Tough matchup for Hopkins as well. 5th hardest versus position versus Seattle secondary. He's $7,700. So be careful if you're thinking about guys like Hopkins and guys like, big names like that. So sometimes these big names have tough matchups, okay? I'm just trying to see if there's anyone else you may want to consider. Calvin Ridley's got an easy matchup. I mean, he was a little banged up, so just make sure you check into him. Let's see if there's anybody else here that might be worth mentioning. I said Deebo Samuel, I like at $7,300. Allen Robinson, I wouldn't touch him. He's just been really, really inconsistent, but he does have a good matchup. And in regards to other good matchups here, again, Jalen Waddell's that high ceiling guy I mentioned. And I think that's it for good matchups. Then you got your mid-range matchups, guys that are very volatile. Antonio Brown with Evans and Godwin there. You never know which one of those three guys is going to strike on each particular week. They've got mid-range matchups. But again, it's kind of a dice roll with those guys, okay? Now, Pittman and Hilton. Pittman came on. Hilton came on, came back, did okay. Be cautious there. I think Pittman could have a big game. He's at $5,100. Pretty decent value. Okay, guys? And again, with wide receiver, you want to start taking some risks, getting those value plays, and this should help you. I gave you a couple good names there. Now, when we're looking at tight end here, Travis Kelce, who's been one of the most consistent tight ends in NFL history for fantasy anyway. 3rd hardest matchup versus position, coming off 2 18-point games back-to-back. He's $7,600. You're going to pay for him. Darren Waller, you're going to pay $6,700 for him. He's got an easy matchup, and he is 11 points, 9 points. He hasn't had that high ceiling type of games, okay? So be cautious. Now, I really like Mark Andrews. He's $6,000, cheaper than both Kelce and Waller. I like him this week, but he does have a tough matchup versus Cincy. They play tight ends a lot tougher, but it's still Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson. They've been connecting very strong, including that 45-point game 2 weeks ago. Mark Andrews, a guy that's heavily targeted and is valued at $6,000 this week. I'm going for it, but be prepared. It is a tough matchup. There's a chance he may have a bad game, but I like the trend of Mark Andrews as of late. Kyle Pitts coming off a huge 30-point game. He's been doing a lot of modeling. I actually went on his last post where he's modeling in like this suit. I said, hey, less modeling, more fantasy football. He deleted the comment. He didn't block me, but he deleted the comment. I don't like that. I like a guy that likes fantasy. He's kind of turned me off this season, but based on, a couple weeks ago, they were on a bye last week, but the week before, maybe he's back. Maybe he's here. Maybe he's broken out. Something to watch. $5,900, not bad. I wouldn't mind rolling the dice in a mid-range matchup for him, okay? Gronkowski, I don't know if he's back yet. I don't think he is. But if he is, he's got a tough matchup. Gesicki's been pretty solid, $4,700. I like Gesicki. I'd start him. And I'm just going to see if there's anyone else here worth starting. CJ Uzomah. He's been pretty solid, $3,000. And he's got an easy matchup. I'd consider plugging Uzomah in there. I'd probably plug in Kyle Pitts at $5,900 if I have the budget. And I like Mark Andrews. I like those safer kind of plays. I want the numbers. I want to get something out of my tight end. But that Uzomah's got that high ceiling. He had a high ceiling a couple of weeks ago. You may want to consider him. And I think that with tight end, again, guys, you just gotta take a risk and look at a couple weeks back. Go back a couple weeks, see have they done well. Like Mo Alley Cox had a good week a couple weeks ago. Sometimes you get those wild cards. Like Ricky Seals-Jones had a good week last week. $3,700 this week, mid-range matchup. Look at those guys, consider them, look at the trends, and also look at the matchup, okay? I gave you a couple of names there. And finally, guys, at the defenses I like to start based on optimal matchups. Patriots versus the Jets, can't go wrong, and they're $3,400, a little more expensive. Jets versus New England, it works both ways. Dolphins versus Atlanta, I don't know if I really trust that. It is a favorable matchup, but Matt Ryan could tear it up. We've seen it before. I kind of do like the Falcons versus Miami because I'm still uncertain on how Miami's offense is going to gel. I love the Rams defense versus Detroit this week. That is the defense to start in all matchups. Now, it is expensive. It is $5,000 as a defense, very, very expensive, and understandably so is Detroit. And it's the Rams. I mean, I would just start that because you know you're going to get a good matchup. Okay, guys? If you also want another couple ones that I like here, I like the Panthers versus the Giants. I like the Buccaneers defense versus Chicago. A couple more defenses. And that's it, guys. I mean, with this, you gotta tune in Friday because, again, I go over all the guys that have tough matchups. But this is going to give you a good foundation to build those solid lineups for your daily fantasy DraftKings FanDuel lineups. All right, guys? If you are new to the channel, make sure you guys do click that subscribe button. It really helps the channel. And, of course, guys, tune into my Instagram for amazing giveaways. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Thumbs up. We will talk soon. Good luck. I can't believe we're at week 7 already. It's flying by. Talk soon.